Welcome to the Hudson School District's podcast series on parenting, Parenting with Pride.
Ready, set, where did summer go? You might be asking yourself, where did summer go? Or you're thinking, I can't wait for summer to be over. Like many families, you are likely feeling you want summer to last forever, with a hint of, these kids are bored and need to go back to school.
Welcome. Allison and Leah here today. We are so excited to be with you. Parenting with Pride podcast today, and we are talking about going back to school. Ready, set, go. I am Leah.
I'm Allison.
And we are teachers in the Hudson District and moms. We have kids spanning from 4 to 14. So we are excited to share our point of view, both from a parenting lens and a teacher lens. Allison, back to school is always so extremely stressful because
So stressful.
Summer schedule is laid back. We're not working, and then now it's switching to everybody's back to school. There's more events, there's sports, and so it's always so hard to transition back. Would you agree?
Totally agree. I feel like I start to think about back to school in August, and I start to go back to my classroom, and I start to wind things up at school, but then we have to start thinking about going to bed a little bit earlier, making sure that we have our morning routines set, making sure that we have things ready to go for the next day if we're going someplace, and that starts to be a little bit challenging at our house.
Yes. So what we want to do today is just kind of lay out some things that we think would be really helpful and things we do in our households with our families that would really help you transition back to school too. So good point, Allison, you said back to school, bedtime routine. I always try to start this about a week before. I think that's a good kind of happy medium. Just thinking about all those things that are going to come with school. So you need to get to bed a little bit earlier, thinking about possibly what are you going to wear tomorrow, laying out that snack for the next day. Do we have our water bottle, lunch boxes clean? So just talking that through with your kiddos can really help that transition as you're starting to get back to that thought of going back to school and getting up every day.
And going back to school is stressful. I mean, I think kids, and we'll talk about this a little bit later too, but just the emotions kids feel and the emotions that parents feel. Some parents are really pumped to have their kids go back to school and they're ready for that routine. Kids really do thrive on routine. And so when they don't have that structure, I think, at home, when summer is a little bit more free, having to establish that structure is really important beforehand. So it's not like ripping off a Band-Aid when school starts. Like that night before school, then you're running around. That just sets the precedent for being anxious and stressed and crabby when you wake up that first day or those first few days.
Definitely agree. You said a great thing. You said the morning routines, like even a chart would be helpful. Including what the end of the day would look like.
Right. I think I credit my husband to this one. He will tell our boys, you have have-dos to do. So the have-dos are get dressed, brush your teeth, have breakfast, make sure your backpack is ready. When your have-dos are done, you can do the want-tos. So we have Lego masters at our house who want to build Legos all day long, and that is something that they'll do. And then, oh no, I have to get ready to go. My mom's grouching at me to get in the car. So we have kind of set that have-dos versus want-tos. That works pretty well for our 9, almost 10-year-olds going into 4th grade this year. But then we have a 5-year-old at home starting kindergarten. So for him, it just looks different. Like his bedtime is earlier. We've been talking more about what school will look like because he doesn't have that background knowledge. I mean, did 4K, yes, but kindergarten is different than that. So his have-tos are the same. His want-tos really are the same too. But for him, he is motivated by that sticker chart. So finding that something, that buy-in for your kid, I think is really
That's a great
helpful
idea.
too.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And a good point that all ages need different things. And their worries look different too. Their worries look different when they're little. They don't know what to expect. And the time frame of the day is changing from half to full.
Right.
And the bigger kids think they know what's coming, but they're not going to be ready without our help.
Right.
Getting back into the routine, getting back to an earlier bedtime.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially when they have more responsibilities, homework.
Yes.
We'll start thinking about your boys in middle and high school. Like they're not going to have a ton of time where routines are built in, teachers will expect them to have those routines. So
That's a really good point. Calendar was another idea I had. Putting in a calendar or setting up a calendar for your kiddos. We have a home calendar on our fridge, and I think just even littles can benefit from that. What's the first day, or even marking off days that aren't school days. So if they're anxious, they can see what I have to do. Okay, I only have 2 more school days, and then I get a weekend break. Or even putting stickers on there for them to see, if they're not readers, what's the first day of school, what's a day where I'm going to meet my teacher, things like that. I think when we set up and explain things that are coming up, it can really help lessen that anxiety over what's coming. I also think big kids benefit from knowing when their sports are starting or different activities, because they're just learning how to organize all their life. When am I going to have time to do this project, homework? So setting up some type of calendar, even, we just started this past year in 8th grade helping our son with a planner. And so, just like we make lists and it seems routine to us, they think they can just keep it all in their head. Oh, so,
Post-its aren't reliable.
And Post-its aren't reliable. Or your hand.
Or your hand.
Yes. So I think, teaching them, which he was very much against it, but no, a piece of paper that has your classes for the week that you keep in your binder. And we just made it simple. We list all of his classes, put Monday through Friday on the side, and his job was to write in what he needed to do. So just, setting all that up before it's the first day. For teachers, the month of August is like one long Sunday. But I think for some of us, it can feel that way too. We like the summer. We like having our kids in a little bit more of a relaxed state, relaxed schedule. But it can also feel good to get back into their routine for a lot of people, and a lot of people who are struggling to keep their kids entertained over summer. So I think any way you look at it, it's good to start processing this with your kids. Right. I think that sweet spot is like a week before. Start talking it through a week before.
I think something else too is to think about how you want to regroup at the end of the day. So I I've been teaching for a long time, and so school is really fun for me, and I get really excited about the first day of school.
Same.
And I love that my kids are all in school. That makes me feel so excited and so proud, and I just can't wait at the end of the day to hear how their first day went. And I think it's important to remember that kids are exhausted at the end of the day. And so in our regroup plan at our house, we have to build in a little bit of cushion for the dad in our family works from home. So he goes from September until May or June. It's quiet in our house all day long. So he has a quiet workspace. His office is upstairs. There's no one to bother him, just the dog. And then June comes and bam, we are all home, and we've got 4 other people in the house riling up the dog, and we're inside, outside. So that's a transition at the beginning of summer. But then for us at the end of summer when school is starting, part of what we talk about in that week or two transition period or planning is like, okay, now remember, 4 of us are going to leave the house at 7:15, and then all 4 of us are coming back at 4:15. So including everybody in your house in that plan of what the expectations are. Do you have a quiet time planned after school? You are going to want to hear everything about your kids' first day of elementary school, first day of 4th grade, first day of high school, and they will likely not want to talk to you about that right away when you get home and out of the car, because it is exhausting to be at school for that 7.5 hours. So think about setting yourself up for success. How can you communicate as a family and not feel frustrated when your kids are like, it was fine, I don't want to talk to you, slamming doors, they're crabby, they're tired, they're hungry. So think about maybe giving that little chunk of quiet time first. I know at our house, we started doing that. The boys come home, they have a snack, and then they kind of disperse to their own space. And then we all come back together as a family, especially at dinner time. So thinking about that part too. It's great to be ready to go in the morning and get all those have-tos and want-tos in. But then when you come home, what does that look like?
That's a great point. Because especially with homework routine, unpacking your backpack, all those things are good to set up right away. But you're right. We as parents generally are excited. And I get a lot of that. It was fine.
Fine.
And I have noticed, especially
liked
with
recess.
my middle schoolers, yes, they need to decompress. And then if I give them a little bit and find them later when I can tell they're reset, they're much more likely to talk and share. So I think that downtime is really important. I'm one of routine, and so I want to get the homework done right away, and then I want to do this, and then I want to do that. But we have to remember they are exhausted. I remember my middle would fall asleep on the way home. We live 8 blocks away. So they will be tired.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think about like the beginning of 4K for our youngest, who will be in kindergarten. Same thing. He would be so crabby and so tired, and it really just a light bulb came on, kind of like halfway through that first semester of the year in 4K, where it was like, oh, he's just really shot. Like he's so tired. He wants to just be taking a nap. I don't know, and hungry. Everyone's always so hungry. Maybe we
Same.
should keep snacks in the car. That would maybe be a
That would be a good thing. Watch
maybe
out
put
for
snacks
Leo
in
the
your
dog.
car. Watch out for your dog. Oh,
So I think you touched on a good point. There's going to be big feelings because they're going to be tired. There's going to be possibly, sharing or not sharing after school, but definitely feelings that are going to come up with the transition to school. And you and I have been talking a lot about our feelings and how adults feel going back to school. But really, it's all about the kids.
Right.
It's all about the kids and how they are going to feel going back to school. And a huge, what we might see really increase is behaviors. And because their feelings are really changing as they go back to school and are really nervous or anxious or excited or happy. But it comes out in large behaviors.
yeah. I think it's really important. I mean, we've talked about this a lot, just with our different age kids, like 5 to 14. That's a big age difference, but the feelings really are the same. The behaviors come out differently. So, like the big kids might kind of close in and shut down a little bit, just be more internal,
Crabby,
crabby,
sassy.
Oh, sassy. Well, that matches for 4th graders too. For like our little guy, he's more upset or sad or nervous. And so I think about he's already asking questions about kindergarten, which tells me, okay, you're asking a lot of questions, you want to know, but you're also feeling a little bit anxious or worried about what it's going to look like because it is different than what you did last year.
He can't picture it.
Can't
When we
picture it.
can't picture something, we're nervous. We get anxious when we don't know what to anticipate.
Right.
Yeah,
I
that
think
makes sense.
one of our boys, too, he is a worrier just by nature. And so he will ask a lot of questions, too. And I find that if I just let him talk, if I just am the listening ear for him, and he'll say, I really feel worried about going back to school. I feel worried that my friends aren't going to be in the same class as me. What if my teacher is mean? I mean, there aren't mean teachers, but kids always worry about that. What if my teacher is mean? What if I can't find my, anyway.
Locker.
Locker.
I forget where to put things.
What if
yeah,
I forget my
all the worries.
combination? And so I think just
I still have that nightmare.
Oh, same. And carrying everything in your backpack so that you didn't
Yes.
have to go to your locker.
Yes, still. So I think validating these feelings is really important as a parent too, because we're having a lot of feelings, and you and I have talked about that. But just acknowledging that and reflecting their feelings. You're feeling nervous. You're feeling worried.
Yeah.
And I always share with my kids too, I felt that same way.
Right.
This is normal. I think kiddos really benefit from hearing that, even middle schoolers and high schoolers. It was the same. I was nervous about that. I still have that
Still.
locker nightmare worry.
Yeah.
So I think that just sharing that and validating their feelings, especially when they're little and giving them that vocab, it looks like you're feeling nervous or it sounds like you're feeling nervous. That feels uncomfortable, even to me, even as a grown up.
Right.
Nervous and anxiousness feels uncomfortable.
And then coaching them through that feeling too. This is normal. It's normal to feel nervous. Grown-ups feel nervous. Grown-ups feel anxious or sad. And then giving them tools and support to work through it. So when you feel anxious, these are the things you can do. You can take some deep breaths. You can talk to your grown-up about how you're feeling. I think being the listener and validating those feelings and then showing that empathy. Like, I understand this is really hard. Starting a new school year is really hard, but you are smart. You are kind. You are capable of doing hard things. I believe in you. Your teacher believes in you. I think those are really important things to say to our kids too, to help them understand that there are people who will help them work through these big feelings.
Uncomfortable feelings does not equate that it's going to turn out bad. I think that's the other thing. We have to remind our kids that just because you're feeling stressed or anxious or nervous or even sad does not mean that it's going to end up being bad. I think our counselor here at our school always shares that good stress. There is such a thing as good stress. Right. And I tell my own kids this. This is your body's reaction to not knowing what's going to happen.
Right.
And it's natural.
It's natural.
It's natural, and you are going to do great things. I always try to connect it to some other moment where they felt nervous or anxious but powered through and really felt great afterwards. Yeah. For us, that's swimming lessons. All three of them were nervous.
Sure.
So with swimming lessons, did great, loved it, all loved to swim. You know, so connect it back to an experience where they've already felt nervous and they've really been successful in the end. And connect that with them that they can feel powerful. They can do this.
Right. I think, yes, connecting it to something that they've already done and felt success, and just saying this is normal. This is your body's response to this. When you power through, it will be okay.
Right. And when those feelings come up when you're not with me, you can take deep breaths. You can tell a grown-up that's with you. Get a drink of water, you know.
Even acknowledge your worry. I feel worried about finding my locker on the first day of middle school.
Oh, totally.
And then tell that worry to go away. I know where my locker is. I know my combination. I can write it down. Go away, worry. I don't have time for you, which maybe your middle schooler wouldn't do as internal self-talk, but something along those lines,
yes.
right? I'm acknowledging that this is making me uncomfortable, but it's a temporary discomfort. It's not going to be forever, and I can do it.
What a great idea for another podcast, Allison. Name your worry.
We
do that in our household too.
Well, could we sing the song?
Oh, I don't know if
Maybe
I'm up
next
for
time.
that. That'll be a good hook for another podcast. Hook. But seriously, my youngest, her worry's name is Bob. Bob, I don't have time today. I have to take this math test.
Oh, I love that.
Well, we know that you might have a lot of different mixed feelings going back to school, as us and our kiddos all will have mixed feelings. So we hope that we gave you some ideas as you are transitioning back to school, and some ideas that you can use in your with your family and your household. All right. So any questions you have from today's podcast, you can email to connections@hudsonraiders.org. And we have linked a few sample schedules, calendars, things that you might want to use at home, things that we've used. And they're linked right in the description of the podcast for today. So hopefully you can find some of those helpful for you. And we wish you the best of luck going back to school.
Happy first day.
Woo!
Days. Happy first weeks.
Thanks for tuning in.
We hope you check back as we grow our library of conversations on parenting, understanding children and their learning, all things IT, and much more. If you have questions, send an email to connections@hudsonraiders.org.